When most people hear near-death experience, they picture the same thing, right? This tunnel, light, overwhelming love, maybe a life review, maybe a deceased relative telling you it's just not your time. It's practically a genre now. Like, it almost feels like there's a template for it. And look, I'm not dismissing any of that. I believe those stories. But here's the thing. I didn't get the tunnel, nor did I get the light. I got the void. Total darkness. No guide, no conversation, no reassurance, just nothing. And everything simultaneously, both at the same time. Now, if you've never heard someone describe an NDE like that before, someone who's been through it and spent decades really trying to understand what it actually meant, stick around. Because what I'm about to tell you changes everything you think you know about why you're actually here. And here's the twist. The people who get the tunnel, the light, they come back changed. Yeah, sure. But the people who get the void, we don't come back at all. At least not entirely. Something else walks back in. All right, let me take you back to that moment. It was a regular dental visit, just a simple cavity. I was in the chair. They administered whatever combination of sedatives was standard. And then it's like I was gone instantly. Now, I'm going to be as accurate as I can about this because I didn't float above my body. I didn't see a light. I didn't meet Jesus or my dead relatives or a being made of pure energy who gave me a tour of the universe. I was in a complete void. Complete, total darkness. But, and this is the part that's almost impossible to describe, that darkness wasn't empty. It was full. And full of what? Love. Pure, non-interactive love. And that word, non-interactive, is the most important word in this entire video. Because in every light tunnel NDE you've ever heard, there's an interaction. Somebody speaks, somebody shows you something, somebody tells you it's not your time. The ego gets a story that it can process. The ego gets a narrative. The void doesn't give you that narrative. The void just is, and you are in it. And it is love. Overwhelming, total, undeniable love. But it doesn't talk to you. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't make you feel better. It just holds you. And then you come back. Now, here's the thing that nothing can prepare you for about coming back from an experience like that. You'd think the aftermath would be, peace, gratitude, a new lease on life. And sure, some of that happened. But the dominant experience, and I mean for years, is that my body, my desires, my wants, and direction slowly began to shift and change. It's like getting into someone else's car. The mirrors are in the wrong spot, the seat's at the wrong height, in the wrong position. The steering wheel doesn't feel right. So you start adjusting things, right? First the mirrors, then the seat, then the wheel, and then you drive it, and something else needs tweaking, and you adjust that too. Except in this case, what I'm adjusting isn't a car. It's every pattern my body knows, every loop my nervous system is running, every direction my cells are programmed to travel. And some of those patterns, I kept, they're mine. They work. Some of them I closed. They don't belong to me. Some of them I just shifted the direction of. Right? Not this way anymore, let's go more that way. And some of them I celebrate. That's good. Hold that. And all of that, the purging, the closing, the reframing, the building of coherence in the body itself, that takes time, years. Because I'm now operating through the constraint of incarnation. Form moves slower than consciousness. That's the deal. So me as the walk-in soul is not suffering my body. It was literally integrating into it, learning it, tuning it, making it coherent with what I actually am now. Okay, that kind of brings me back to this simple question. So what was the darkness? What was the void? I've had decades to sit with this question, and here's what I've come to. And I will do my best to explain this as clearly as possible. The light tunnel, NDE, that everyone talks about, that's an experience the ego can actually wrap itself around. Right? Light has direction, light has form. Light gives you something to move towards. The ego can say, I went towards the light. I met a being. I was told to come back. It's a story with characters and a plot. And the ego loves stories. The ego is a story. Right? The void doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give the ego a single thing. It's non-narrative, non-directional, non-interactive, pure presence. And here's the odd irony in all of this. That's actually closer to what spirit actually is than any light tunnel could ever be. Think about it. And spirit, I'm talking about spirit with a capital S. The thing you actually are underneath the personality doesn't have a face, doesn't have a voice, doesn't have opinions or preferences or a life story. Spirit is awareness, pure, undifferentiated awareness. It doesn't need to tell you anything because it already knows everything you know. It is everything you know. The void wasn't a place, the void was me. The void was what I actually am, stripped of every single thing the ego uses to define itself. Right? There was no body, no name, no history, no relationships, no achievements, no failures, just pure awareness, pure love, and nothing to interact with. And that's why it's so destabilizing, because the ego can't process it. There's nothing for it to attach to. The ego spends your entire life building a self. Right? I'm Ferdinand. I'm a photographer. I'm Canadian. I was born in Zimbabwe. I'm this, I'm that. And then you get dropped into a state where none of that exists anymore, and the ego has no circuit breaker for that. It just shorts out. And that short is the low-grade panic I mentioned. The body feeling rejection. That's the ego screaming into a void that doesn't answer. Now, most NDE accounts frame this as a beautiful, transformative experience. And it is. But nobody tells you that the transformation happens slowly, over years, while you're still walking around. And here's what I didn't fully understand for years. I was 33 when the NDE happened. It was during a dental procedure. I went into the void. And while I was there, in that space where there was no guide, no conversation, no direction, something happened that I didn't have a language for or understand until much, much later. See, if I go back to the very start, my brother died. I was born a year later, and I was given the exact same name, Ferdinand, same middle name. And for the first 33 years of my life, I lived with a certain kind of energy. It was a warrior energy. It was intense, and I knew with absolute certainty that I wasn't going to see 40. And the odd part is, I would share that with my friends, especially in my teenage years, and I never really worried about it. It wasn't like this overhead looming feeling of doom and gloom. It did, however, have an impact on how I moved, right? How I drove my life, and it was hard, fast, with no brakes. And that certainty was real. It was true. It belonged to the consciousness that was operating this body, and it belonged to a different soul. This takes me back to the void. So during the NDE, that soul left, and another came in, my brother, or me, this soul, me today. It was an agreement that had been made a long time ago. One steps out, one steps in. Now I don't have proof of that, and I won't pretend I do. What I can tell you is that when I came back, the warrior was gone. The absolute certainty that the clock was short just dissolved, it evaporated. What replaced it was something quieter, something that didn't need to fight, something here to teach, to witness, to be. The before and after aren't just different. They're so radically different that saying I changed doesn't even really touch it. It's the same body, same name, same memories, different driver. And here's what took me years to really come to terms with. The void wasn't preparation for the walk-in. The void was the walk-in. It was the space where the exchange happened. It cleared the channel so that one soul could leave and another soul could come in. And the ego couldn't fight it because there was nothing to fight with. Just darkness, just awareness, just the agreement being honored. The darkness wasn't punishment, it was the threshold. So what does this really mean for you? You didn't have an NDE. You didn't get dropped into a void. Why should any of this be relevant? Well, because here's what the void taught me. And it's the single most important thing I've ever learned. And I'm going to say it as simply or as clearly as I can. We didn't come here to learn. We didn't come here to grow. We didn't come here to become enlightened. We didn't come here to balance karma or pay off cosmic debts or ascend to the next dimension. All of that, every bit of it is ego. The ego wants a curriculum. The ego wants a report card. The ego wants to believe it's getting somewhere. Spirit doesn't need to get anywhere. Spirit is already infinite, already love, already complete. Spirit doesn't need to learn anything. It already knows everything it could ever need to know. So why come here at all? Because Spirit can't taste vanilla ice cream. That sounds ridiculous, right? But I mean it literally. Spirit, the infinite, eternal, pure awareness, has never felt the heat of a coffee mug on a cold morning, has never had a sunburn, has never had a broken heart, has never laughed so hard it couldn't breathe, and has never been so tired it couldn't stand up, or has never been terrified or never been in love. Spirit knows what love is. It's pure love. But it doesn't know what love feels like when you're standing in a kitchen at 2 a.m. in the morning and someone you can't live without is crying and you realize there's nothing you can do except be there. That's why we came. Not to learn, to feel. Every single thing, the joy, the grief, the boredom, the terror, the ecstasy, all of it. This entire physical existence is a sensory delivery system for something that has no senses. You're not a soul having a human experience so you can get better at being a soul. You're a soul having a human experience because a soul can't have a human experience any other way. And if you really sit with that, and I mean really, really sit with it, it changes everything. Because suddenly your suffering isn't a mistake. Your pain isn't a failure of your spiritual practice. Your grief isn't something you need to transcend. It's the point. It's what you came for. Every single thing you've ever felt was the mission. We came here to feel. So why the darkness? Why the void? Why not the tunnel and the light like everybody else? Because the light would have been a story I could tell myself. The light would have been something the ego could process and package and sell. I went to heaven and I came back. The ego loves that. The ego would have built an entire identity around being the guy who saw the light. The void gave me absolutely nothing to build with, and that was the gift. The void told me without words, without interaction, without anything, that I am not my story. I'm not my achievements. I'm not my photography career or my books. I'm not my failures. I'm not even my near-death experience. I am the awareness that witnessed all of it. I am. And so are you. We came here to feel every single bit of it. The question isn't whether you can feel more. The question is what's in the way of what you're already supposed to be feeling. And that is a different video. Thank you.